Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me in the back?
You're gonna have to talk louder.
How about now? Closer. ¿Me pueden escuchar? Parece que no. How about now? Okay. Sorry, I wish I had a volume button, but I don't. Okay. Well, good evening, board members, board directors, and Superintendent Larios, staff, parents. Bienvenidos a todos que están aquí esta tarde. Gracias por estar aquí. Thank you for those who are attending online as well. We will now, it is now actually past 5:45 p.m. and I will now call this regular board meeting into order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as we see, we have the agenda here before us. The agenda does reflect a change to remove the agenda item of the policy grievance. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
Thank you. Second, is there a
I
second?
it.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0 vote. Next, we have staff, students, and school recognition. We have Nellie Muir Elementary. I would like to welcome Principal Oscar Bellinger.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes a todos. So, where's the camera? I feel like in a concourse that, hey, I'm gonna perform. Jenny, what camera? Okay. So much technology. Okay, so this is my favorite part when I get the chance to present. I get to recognize and celebrate a lot of work, a lot of good days, celebrate also challenges. But at the end of the day, we're here to support and just try to do the best with our students. So this afternoon, I have 7 amazing kids that I would like to celebrate with you all. I'm gonna start with Maximiliano, AKA Max. My friend Maximiliano, he is in 1st grade and he made a tremendous growth in reading. When I say tremendous, I mean a lot, okay? And this is what Max's teacher said. You ready, Max? Oh yeah, Max, come. I don't bite. Making me move everywhere. All right. Say hi, Max. Okay, so let's see. It says, Max was a quiet student at the beginning of the school year. He was sometimes lost and didn't know how to ask for help. After we began communicating with Max, needed to do to be successful in class, Max became a new student. He began asking for help. He started to participate in class discussions. During reading groups, I began overhearing him making comments like, I can do this. I'm really good at reading. And he will ask others, what about you? Are you good at reading? Good job. Little by little, Max began to be a reader. He started as a non-reader in the beginning of the school year. Now Max is reading at a level D and getting close to read at a level E. He's also making progress in other subject areas like math and writing. He passes his positivity on others, and others are making progress as well. Great growth, Max. Keep it going. Then, after Max, I would like to call Lisette Cruz. Is Lisette Cruz? Oh, she's coming. She's a little shy. Lisette is also in first grade. Right here, sweetie. And she made huge growth in math. So when I say huge, again, I'm talking about more than a year growth. And this is what her teacher said. Lisette Cruz, she's amazing. She's very quiet and shy. Over the school year, she has grown more confident and is talking more throughout the day. Although she's shy, she is always willing to quietly talk about math. She's on grade level in reading after starting below grade level. In math, she's persistent and always gets it by the end. She's a hard worker and always tries her very best. Lisette Cruz. Hey, then I have Benjamin Garcia. Benjamin Garcia is in fourth grade and he made also a lot of growth in reading. Is Benjamin here? ¿Benjamin está acá? Benja, ¿no? Oh, bueno, that's him right there, okay? Benjamin is a very curious student and he enjoys reading. He is a good student. He finishes his work and he's thoughtful. He is learning so many new things and he has many interests. He loves to read and it shows. Benjamín García es un estudiante muy curioso y le gusta leer. Es un muy buen estudiante, termina sus trabajos y es reflexivo. Está aprendiendo muchas cosas nuevas y tiene muchos intereses. Le encanta leer y se le nota. Benjamín García. Back and forth. Okay. Now. Yes. Next, Haley. Haley Vasquez. Also in fourth grade. And also made a huge growth in reading. A lot of growth. So this is what Miss Knudson said about Haley. Haley always tries hard to do her best on her assignments. She is a good listener and makes sure she follows her directions carefully. She is doing very well in reading and learning and many other things. Haley Vázquez siempre se esfuerza por hacer lo mejor que puede en sus tareas. Sabe escuchar y se asegura de seguir las instrucciones cuidadosamente. Le está yendo muy bien leyendo y aprendiendo muchas cosas nuevas. Haley Vázquez. Hey, after Haley, I have my friend Major Trevino. Major, I know you're here. I saw you. Hey, are you ready to hear what Miss T said? Okay, Major Trevino made a huge growth in math. Major really takes his time with math. He asks questions when he doesn't understand something and he's not afraid to ask for help. Major is quick with his facts and can solve facts problems quickly. He's a great mathematician and has some great math skills. Major Trevino. Next in line is Jocelyn Barajas. Jocelyn is in 5th grade, so it's our last year together, but she's gonna come and visit. And she made ton of growth in math. She loves numbers. And this is what Mr. Delgado said. Jocelyn Barajas has made extraordinary gains this school year. She always comes to school ready to learn and to participate. She has a positive attitude and is always ready to help her fellow classmates. What has really helped Jocelyn this year is her willingness to work with her neighbor in order to collaborate, verify math work, and foster positive attitude about learning. Jocelyn has a bright future ahead of her. Jocelyn Barajas. And then came Jasper Murphy. Where's my friend Jasper? Come, Jasper. Jasper. My friend Jasper is in 2nd grade and he made a lot of math growth too. So a lot of mathematicians and great readers here in front of you. So let's see what Miss Jackson said about Jasper. Jasper took the MAP assessment in January 2024 and he grew by 32 points. That's a big number. Way to go, said Miss Jackson. I'm proud of Jasper for taking his time and doing his very, very best. Now, something that you need to know about Jasper, if you're ever bored, go and have a conversation with him because you will never be bored again. Jasper Murphy. Picture. Picture time. And thank you so much for their parents to support them every day. This is a team job. So now we're going to move to the older Lions, okay? And I would like to celebrate 4 staff members this night. The first person is Elizabeth Martinez. Unfortunately, she had an emergency this morning and she's not here with us. But I have a lot of amazing things that her colleagues said about her. and I would like to read them to you so you know how cool and awesome Elizabeth is. Elizabeth always goes above and beyond. She volunteers to help out whenever she has free time, and I never see her sitting still. Elizabeth builds relationship with everyone around her, her colleagues, her administrators, and most importantly, her students. She is an amazing addition to our Nellie Muir team, and I love working with her. Someone else said, Elizabeth is a vital part of our team of amazing assistants. She works very hard to support our students, both academically and emotionally. She has taken on working with some of our most struggling readers and is always looking for ways to improve her skills as a reader instructor. She often takes the initiative and comes to me with new ideas on how to support them. For example, this morning she came to me to talk about a few boys who really struggle to sit still while reading, so she came up with the idea of reading while exercising. They read riding a bike, stationary bike, otherwise will be car. This year, she has been stretched working with students who has challenging behaviors. She has not shared away from this challenge, but comes to work every day ready to engage in a positive way with all students. She's a team player who loves to collaborate and is never afraid to ask for guidance. I look forward to watching her grow as a member of our team and one day as a teacher herself. She will be amazing. Elizabeth Martinez. I forgot to mention that Elizabeth is one of our educational assistants at school, and she's been at Nelly for 3 years. Next in line, oh, we've got this. This Karen. Karen has been at Nelly Muir for 19 years. And I have the pleasure to work with her for 8 years now. I know. Ooh, so many great things. You ready? Let's go. I've had the privilege of working closely with Karen McGee for many, many years as a teacher and instructional leader. Ms. McGee has deep knowledge of best instructional practices for young children and is skilled in inquiry-based approaches to teaching and learning. She creates an environment in her kinder classroom where her students are excited to participate and learn new skills. Ms. McGee's teaching passion is centered around mathematics and science instruction. Beyond the classroom, she has been a board member of the Oregon Science Teacher Association, that's a long name, an elementary science teacher leader, and has participated in many math committees within our district. She has also volunteered her time as an event planner for the Woodburn STEM Festival and Maker Party. Ms. McGee's hard work and dedication are a few of many reasons that being recognized today is well deserved. Now, some of your team members said, oh, Karen is creative and funny. Yes. I enjoy working with her because she helps me as a new teacher feel confident about my teaching. Karen is caring, supporting, and always willing to work with others. She has a positive attitude and lots of energy. Well, you need that when you teach kinder. Sometimes enough energy for all. Karen is not only an amazing kinder teacher, but also helps facilitate science experiences for the entire district. She loves science herself and knows that it is a powerful way to engage students. Something that you need to know about Miss McGee too is she has a zoo in her house. And I'm serious. Many animals, such as
Tortoises, snakes, lizards, fish.
and more.
And more.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss Maggie. Stay, stay. Get comfy. Next, we have Miss Jessica Pichardo. Miss Pichardo teaches second grade dual, and she has been a Nelly for 5 years. Also, she was a Nelly as a student teacher. So it's wonderful to see people that stays in the community and grows with us as a family. So, and before that, you were an after-school program site coordinator for 7 years. So a lot of experience working with students. Thank you. Let's see. Says, Jessica made me feel so welcome in our second grade team. She has made my year planning and preparing so easy as her organization skills are excellent. She's very dedicated to her students and a wonderful mentor to her student teacher. You can see how much she cares for her colleagues and students. It's a pleasure to work with Jessica. Jess is a phenomenal educator, collaborator, and colleague. She develops meaningful relationships with students by creating a sense of mutual trust and respect. She cares deeply about each individual and finds ways to creatively support each of their unique needs socially, academically, and emotionally. When challenges arise, she's quick to problem solve, utilizing her skills that come from her experience as a dedicated teacher and not hesitating to reach out to others to work collaboratively to provide wraparound support for our students. Ooh, Jess is empathetic, kind, thoughtful, knowledgeable, and determined. She's constantly finding ways to innovate her instruction to make it engaging and worthwhile for students, and she shares her wealth of knowledge with her team. I'm honored to call Jess a teammate as well as a friend, and I'm grateful for all that she brings to Nelly Muir and beyond. We're truly fortunate to have her. Miss Jessica Pichardo. And now I would like to call Miss Vicky Knutson. Vicky has been at Nelly for 24 years and it's our very last year together since she's retiring at the end of this year. So let's see, how do we start? It is my pleasure to provide some insight into the career of Vicky Knutson. Over her years at Woodburn School District, Ms. Knutson has impacted students in so many positive ways as a bilingual classroom teacher, reading specialist, tag coordinator, language program coordinator, and probably many, many more that I'm not aware of. Yeah, that's true. Ms. Knutson has several qualities that are highly sought after as an educator. She has deep knowledge of best instructional practices and is skilled at differentiating for a variety of students' needs. She carries out high quality instruction in a bilingual classroom and is a valued team member. Her dedication to the Nelly Muir community is greatly appreciated. Another person said, Ms. Knutson has been an amazing member of the Nelly Muir team. She has taken on many, many roles at school and is always willing to collaborate to support students. She fosters a sense of community in her classroom that has helped many students to develop a sense of belonging that is so important for students to be successful. Vicky encourages students to mentor others in her classroom, which contributes to many students taking an active role in helping others in their classroom. Vicky has an incredible calm demeanor, which helps students to feel safe and comfortable in her classroom. Vicky will be missed by many at Nelly Muir. Vicky is a great teammate who comes up with creative lessons to engage her students. She cares about the whole child and works to give her students the support that they need. She's flexible and a dream to work with. She will be very missed. Miss Canutza. To our families that were celebrated this afternoon, if you would like to go, you're welcome to go now. If you want to stay, even better. Okay. So I'm gonna jump into our first goal. It's about reading. And the goal for our school year this year was to just show that every student at Nelly Muir is showing growth. If students were below grade level, we wanted them to show a growth rate of larger than 0.5 points, which is more than a year of growth in reading. If students were grade level or above grade level, we wanted them to continue their personal achieving projected growth. And the tool that we use to monitor their growth is called MAP. That's our district reading and math assessment that we take 3 times in the school year. The data that I'm going to show after is from fall to winter, since we're currently right now taking the last MAP assessment, okay? So right now you can see how our students performed in English. And when I say English, I'm talking about our English trend from 2nd through 5th grade, and also our 4th and 5th grade students, since they're doing reading in English this year. The blue means they went above their goal. Green means they met the goal. Yellow approaching really close to make it. Orange not, and red means declining. Okay. I also segregated the data in 2 different tiers. The first tier there is for students that were performing below grade level. Remember that the goal was for them to have a 0.5 rate, which is more than a year. And then the students that were performing either at grade level or above grade level, we just wanted them to continue their personal trajectory. So the rectangle means students that either met, they went above, or they were super close. And you can see that we have 37% of students in that category. Now, for students that are below grade level, we're looking at 33% of our school that either met, went above that goal, or were really close to make it. And then for students that were either at grade level or above grade level, we have 36%. Yeah, 36%. Now, those are the celebrations that I have for you. We see growth happening at school. However, I'm also curious on what's happening with the students that either did not make their growth goal or they're declining. So if you look at the percentages that did not make their growth, we're looking at 14% of our school in English. Okay. Now, if you look at the students that unfortunately showed some decline in their reading performance, we're looking at 30.6%. Now, also the goal that we have at school is to start introducing a multi-tier support, multi-tier system of support. And we can see very clearly the 3 tiers that we have right now. We have the students that are making the growth, which is super great. But also we have the tier 2 support, which is students that are not making the support right now. And the tier 3 will be the students that are showing some declining in their reading. So now we've been talking to the team and see what other tiers we can support either our teachers or our students to provide more time for students to complete and fill those gaps. Okay. Now the next one that you'll see is exactly the same data. However, this is in Spanish. Okay. I try to divide it the same way. So you can see that in Spanish, we have 37% of our students. Oh, yeah, that one. It looks just the same, that one, yeah. We have 37% of our students in school that went above or really close to meet their growth goal. And when I say growth, I'm not talking about achievement, okay? Growth is wherever you are performing, we want you to go up from that point on, okay? We believe that by showing growth, eventually it's gonna get to achievement. So right now we're really focusing on showing growth for all our students. Again, same concept of tiers for support. We have students that are making their growth. We have students that are really close and not making it. And then unfortunately, we have those students that are declining. Now, if you look at the one that says one low and low average in fall, and you go to the declining, you see, unfortunately, 40% of our students are in that category. However, I'm curious to know how much impact, because we're talking about students in 2nd and 3rd grade taking this assessment, how much COVID affected their basic reading skills. 3rd grade students missed kinder. We had virtual learning in kinder. And then our 2nd grade students missed what we know of pre-kinder. So they didn't have any of those pre-school skills to come when they come to school. And now, I'm not saying that we didn't provide any education when students were in kinder, but our teachers did the best they could, but learning how to read through a computer was really difficult, right? And it is showing right now in the data that I'm showing it to you. However, this is 3rd to 5th. Let me show you what's happening right now in 1st grade and kinder, okay? I'm super excited to show you what's happening in 1st grade and kinder. This is kinder right now. If you look at the first 2 bars, this is in the beginning of the school year. Blue is in the very beginning. That means 23 students were below the 1st tier. So that means students were not readers. The red means winter data. Out of those 23, only 8 students were in that category. Now, if you keep going to the end, 8 students were at level 3, now 16 at a level 3. And same for level 4, 4 in the beginning, now 13. So we see that increased going on in kinder, and 1 student went above what we called fluency in kinder. So we're talking about a person that is already reading a book. Now, this is the second year that we're implementing a new curriculum in reading called Benchmark. We have also been working with the district very hard to support our teachers on how to incorporate those new strategies, those new materials in the classroom, and we see that it's paying off. Nelly Muir also, we this year are trying to do a learning walk in which teachers can go outside the classrooms and visit other classrooms to see how they're implementing this new curriculum, this new material. And we created a rubric so they can just start seeing where are the negotiables, where are the non-negotiables that need to be in a literacy block from kinder all the way to 5th grade. Now, next slide, you're gonna see what's happening in 1st grade, which is very, very exciting too. And this is connected to the work that also our kinder teachers did last year with these same students. So below level 1, students that were not readers, we started with 5. Now we only have 3. So we can work with that, right? Our triangle now looks like a real triangle. It's not inverted triangle, which is really hard to support a large number of students. But if this carries on all the way to 5th grade, I'm very excited to see what happens next year. Now, if you go, you see a lot of growth from the beginning to winter, blue to red. And if you go to the end of that graph, we're looking at 15 students that are already reading. They already are done with fluency, and they can grab a book and just use all the skills that teachers taught them and become great readers. Okay, so very exciting. I'm very happy to show you this because we're moving to the right direction. And it's all about the work that our teachers are doing every day in the classroom. And I put this little story here. You know, sometimes we have students sitting in front of the computer and they really are lacking the motivation to do their very, very best. And I'm just afraid that we're missing very important data, right? So we came up with this idea for our state test. We sent a letter to all our parents asking if they could write a motivational letter to their student so they could read it before they start their assessment. And I needed to go and see their smiles when they were reading these letters, and it was amazing. Students did not know what the letter was about until they started reading. I saw some tears, I saw smiles, and I'm hoping that these small ideas give us greater results. And we also want to make sure that our families know what's happening in school, because you know we know that if we work together, we're going to accomplish a lot. Like for example, one of the ideas was to send a communication home asking parents to make sure that students go to bed early, you know, taking screen time away a little bit, make sure they have good breakfast or come to school early so they can have breakfast at school. So, you know, we are trying to educate the whole community, okay? So I wanted to show you that. It was very nice. Now, the second goal is about attendance. And we all know that if students don't come to school, then it doesn't matter how much we do in school, they're not going to be getting all that information. Last year, unfortunately, our attendance was of 53%. So this was our priority this year. And we want to shoot for 90 because that's where we were before COVID. And, you know, why not? I want 90 or above. However, right now, after many incentives, we made some progress. We're currently at 68 1.38%, which is an increase. It's not where we want to be at, but we're seeing that the support and the activities and strategies that we're using are slowly catching up to our families. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but it's a small celebration that I'm gonna get right now. I know that we won 90, but we're almost there. And I put that quote there because we have to be meaningful in what strategies and activities we do in order to get the results that we're looking for. Now, what did we do this year in terms of different ideas? The red ones are the new ones that we started implementing this year. So we've always done attendance team weekly meetings, review data, and prioritize students. We've always have parent meetings, letters, and incentive plans. Also, another thing that we've always done is consistent reminders to families, and also to teach our families when it's okay to miss school and when it's not okay to miss school. So now the new incentives that we came up this year was home visits, and I'm really proud of this one because this came from our own teachers. I worked this with our leadership team at school, and we were thinking about other ways to have a bigger reach, because I was explaining that during our attendance team, there's so many students that I can reach in my counselor too. So the idea of doing these home visits is that every classroom teacher will go out and make home visits to 3 or 4 students that we're concerned about. Um, it was wonderful. I got positive feedback as well as some feedback that I need to know so we can improve this idea for the future. But we did see a change. Okay, so the more we talk to parents, the more we reach out to parents, they know that we are taking this seriously and that we're taking note and that we really want to see our students in school.
So just a quick question. So in regards to this, based on the data that you've taken, what do you see has been the barriers to have prohibited from being 72%? I mean, doing the home visits and whatnot, what do you see is,
I have 2 right now. One, vacations. Our families are taking long vacations during school time. Number 2 is we got too comfortable by not sending a student when they have a cough or the sneeze, or if they have a little booger running. So we want to go back and re-educate our community that it's okay to go to school. Now, when it's not okay to go to school, when they're vomiting, when they have a fever, or when they're physically ill, right? And I always tell my families that I promise them is if we ever have a sick student school, we will communicate to them right away. So yeah, it's going back to the reality after being so flexible and be careful, which is understandable. And the other one that we've been trying also is called the attendance calling party, which is once a month. We have a attendance report that goes out to every teacher, and that Monday they get their own class data, and they just grab the phone and make phone calls to just to talk to the families. Hey, what's going on with Oscar? I haven't seen him for this many days. And sometimes we get really meaningful information that will help us to kind of collaborate and help families. And we also have been collaborating with our site council that has also brought another perspective on how we can communicate with our families a little better, that we haven't been using in the past. Um, Roars. We're the Lions. One thing that is missing at this year, and I want to be honest, that we can improve in our school is to have a better PBIS team to continue incentive attendance and positive behaviors at school. And that's why I put that to remind me that PBS is really important. We cannot let that go. And it's something that I know that is in my watch to make sure that we can improve because it goes everywhere. It goes to academics, it goes to behavior, it goes to attendance. If students very feel the sense of belonging in school, they're going to be more willing to come to school. But also in elementary, I understand that we first need to educate parents so they understand that coming to school is very important. So that way, by the time they go to middle school and high school, they understand the value of coming to school and you can work directly with students at that point. So we're just focusing on really reaching out to our parents when we talk about elementary school. Okay. Any questions?
Question on the slide about the testing. So I'm curious if there's been opportunity to collaborate or have conversation with other elementary schools. Are they seeing a similar results in testing with second and third graders connected to COVID?
Yeah. Our third grade class, and I've been talking to Washington Elementary a lot, and we see that that's the group of students are more impacted right now.
And then the curriculum, that's for all your grade levels, right? Not just
From
kinder?
kinder through fifth grade, yes.
That was my question.
No? Okay.
I guess the reading walkthrough, is that what it's called? Mentioned
Learning walks.
Learning walk.
Yeah.
Have you seen any benefit from that? I mean.
We are
any-
just going to start that now.
Okay, so. it's
Yeah.
starting, okay.
So we're planning, we have the rubric ready for what we want teachers to be focusing on. We have the dates and we have the groups that they're going to be doing this with. So I'm excited. And I've been working with our instructional coach a lot to make this happen. And this is the first time. So we're going to see how it goes. And we're going to take learning and tweak it and make it even better next year. And the idea is to make it at least 2 or 3 times in the school year so we can see the improve and they can see it themselves too.
So of the students that have not improved or declined, was attendance an issue? Were those the ones that were?
For many, yes. Not for all of them, but for many, yes.
And have you been able to get through to parents or?
For some of them, yes. But there, there's still a lot of work to be done there. We also, I started to make phone calls and it's just having conversation, not even bringing attendance issues to the table, just to have like a time to talk. We call it the empathy interview, just to know more about the family, what's going on. Because at the end of the day, I really want them to um, know that we want to collaborate. We don't want to just point at we don't want to point fingers at anybody. We just want to make sure that we get the story so we know how we can support families. We know maybe what we need to push out to families. Maybe they're misunderstanding something. But yeah, we're in that point right now. And because I got stuck in the cycle of what we were doing before is okay, I see someone not coming to school, I will call home. Then we'll send letters. Then we'll do home visit and then go back to phone and then another letter. So we're going into this non-ending circle over and over. So now by introducing our teachers to make phone calls so they can hear from different person, also to make incentives, just to talk to families and see what's going on, how we can help. Sometimes it's being giving an alarm clock the solution, but we didn't know until we talked to the family. I go home I go to work at 5 a.m. There's no one at home to wake up my kid. Alarm clock, and we saw an improvement. So by talking to the families, we kind of figured out how we can help them a little bit more. No, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add, Mr. Bellinger, the 15% growth in attendance is, something to really be proud of. It's a challenge and it's a struggle statewide. So to see that type of level of growth, kudos.
Next year, 90.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is public comment. So thank you for being at the Woodburn School District Board meeting tonight and for sharing your comments with the board. Hearing from our families and our community is important to us. During this part, the board's role is to listen. We will not be engaging in dialogue with folks making comments. When follow-up is warranted, that will usually be done through our superintendent. As a reminder, we model the way for our children. Please keep your comments respectful and do not personally identify staff or students by name, as this may violate HR and student privacy laws. We want to leave time for everyone, so please keep your comments to 3 minutes per person. And I also want to add that we have copies of your public comment. And know that if your public comment has been changed in any way, I don't want to stop and interrupt you. And so it just, what you have to read just needs to match what you've sent to our district. All right, so I would like to invite Luda Petrashishin, and she is online. Oh, okay. So hi, Luda, can you hear us?
Her mic's on.
I think you're muted.
Люда, ты можешь включить свой микрофон?
I don't know if she can hear you. Can't hear anything. Alma,
Alma,
can you hear us?
say?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So welcome. You can go ahead and share when you're ready.
For Alma?
Yes.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Alma Shevchenko. Been resident of Woodburn for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. I have 4 children, so 3 of my kids went through the Russian, 3 of my girls went to the Russian immersion program. So it was brought to my attention that there's possible cuts and some kind of, in the budget, either the, especially the reading and, either the Russian immersion program. I'm not sure where it's going to be at, but I just wanted to bring an example. My daughter, she was in elementary school and she at Valor, it was just failing academically. And that's because there wasn't enough funding, at the time as well for her to, learn how to read and everything. At one point she was even suggested for her to put into a special education class. That really was pretty alarming to me. So I had to take things in my own hands, and I put her in a private school with St. Luke's here locally. And that really opened up my eyes how much she was behind, academically, because she had to sit out a full year and not be with her classmates because English, I mean, reading was she was very, very behind. Thankfully, over the years, she finished, going all the way through the end of 8th grade. She graduated with honors, which I'm really, surprised. But I don't know if it's because if it's a smaller class session or maybe they had enough time to, read with her. But I've just seen a huge difference. She's actually in public high school now. She's a freshman and she is 4.0 GPA and just thriving. Like I just think putting any kind of budget cuts, especially on kids' education, will just absolutely just, put our kids just behind with learning and thriving in this society. And I do have my little son. He's signed up for the kindergarten immersion program. I'm really excited for him to start and see hopefully changes won't happen. And if changes do happen, unfortunately, as a mother, I would have to make decisions needed for either I need to, put him into a private school again. So.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to invite Marina Kalugan. Is she in?
Marina.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Marina Kalugan. I went to school in the Woodburn School District, and now my child is in the Russian program at Heritage. While the board and budget committee need to make some hard decisions about where to allocate funding for next year, I ask that you keep our children's educational needs in the forefront of your mind when making those decisions. Reducing reading resource teachers is not a solution that parents stand behind. Russian parents worry that we are at risk of losing our one Russian reading resource teacher. Russian is a very complex language to learn as it is. When a child has additional reading difficulties, it becomes even more complex. Our children need a Russian reading teacher that can support them in their native language and work with them to overcome those challenges. There are times when only a Russian reading resource teacher can work with our students because there is a language barrier, especially with the influx of newcomers we are seeing. As a parent, I'm asking you to continue to support our Russian families, and especially such a vital component, our Russian reading resource teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yep, that works.
Hi, my name is Natalia Feoktistov. So I'll be reading this for Luda. She was going to read it in Russian, but she's having microphone issues. So my name is Luda Petrashishyn-Perez, and I have children in Heritage Elementary School and in the Russian preschool. When you're budgeting for next year, I urge you to recognize the importance of providing our children with a Russian reading teacher who can help our children in their native language. Most of our children first learn to read Russian, and we want that foundation to be strong. For children like my daughter who struggle with reading, it is important they have access to the support that they need to develop strong reading skills in their native language so that they can transfer those skills to English as well. My daughter has worked with a small group, and that has helped her a lot with her reading. Please support our children so that together we can succeed as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. Francisca Escutia. ¿Sí pasa?
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Mi nombre es Francisca Escutia, miembros de la mesa directiva. Soy madre de 3 estudiantes en Woodburn High School, Fresh Ferry y Lincoln. Estoy aquí porque creo que nuestra prioridad principal es las escuelas de Woodburn deben ser nuestros estudiantes. Para mí, la mejor manera de garantizar que nuestros estudiantes tengan éxito en los salones de clases es contratando más maestros. Nuestros hijos no están recibiendo la misma calidad de educación cuando las clases están muy llenas y no tenemos suficientes maestros que le puedan dar atención a todos los estudiantes. También es importante la preservación del programa bilingüe. Este programa es muy importante para mí y para padres que solo hablamos un idioma, porque no queremos que nuestros hijos pierdan sus raíces o idioma principal. Nuestros hijos necesitan aprender a hablar y leer y escribir en los 2 idiomas español. También creo que la mejor manera de mantener seguros a nuestros estudiantes es contratar más consejeros y profesionales de salud mental para ayudar a los estudiantes que tienen dificultades. Los estudiantes tienen necesidades y necesitan apoyo más que nunca, pero los puestos administrativos del distrito han crecido 6 veces más que los puestos de maestros. Su decisión impactará el futuro de nuestros hijos. Por favor, tomen esto en cuenta y de prioridad a invertir en consejeros, maestros y recursos académicos de salud mental que necesitan nuestros hijos para ser exitosos. Cuando hay presupuestos limitados, primero deberíamos recortar los presupuestos administrativos para darle prioridad a nuestros estudiantes. Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias. Adriana Gutiérrez.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva. Mi nombre es Adriana Gutiérrez, soy madre de 4 niñas, una ya en la universidad, pero 2 todavía están en nuestras escuelas de aquí de Woodburn. Estoy aquí porque creo que nuestra prioridad principal en las escuelas de Woodburn deben de ser igual nuestros estudiantes. Yo creo que la mejor manera de garantizar que nuestros estudiantes tengan éxito en los salones de clase es igual contratando más maestros en vez de recortar puestos y programas que nuestros estudiantes necesitan. Los estudiantes tienen necesidades urgentes más que nunca, pero los puestos administrativos del distrito han crecido 6 veces más que los puestos de maestros. Si hay una área donde los estudiantes necesitan ayuda, necesitamos crear programas o proveer servicios para apoyar y desarrollar a nuestros estudiantes. Para mí, el programa bilingüe es necesario e importante para desarrollar más a nuestros estudiantes para que estén preparados para su futuro. También creo que la mejor manera de mantener seguros a nuestros estudiantes es contratar consejeros y profesionales de la salud mental para ayudar a los estudiantes que tienen dificultades sin descuidar la seguridad de los estudiantes en las áreas donde más se necesitan. Por favor, den prioridad a invertir en consejeros, maestros y en recursos académicos de la salud mental y de comportamiento que necesitan nuestros hijos para ser exitosos. Cuando hay presupuestos limitados, primero deberíamos recortar los presupuestos administrativos para darle prioridad a nuestros estudiantes y asegurar que les estemos dando una educación de calidad. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Esperamos contar con su apoyo.
Gracias. Mavjuda Rabimov.
Good evening, Woodbury School Board educators and community. My name is Mavjuda Rabimov, and I'm here tonight as a retired Russian bilingual teacher and community member. I have to say that the final post-pandemic years of my teaching career here in Woodburn were very difficult. and they were made artificially more difficult by our district leaders, unnecessary cutting off essential instructional staff. It started many years ago by hiring long-term subs instead of hiring permanent teachers and counselors. Another recent cut fell very deeply at the elementary level was off-site-based instructional coaches and language proficiency coordinators, all of whom I remember being very important in supporting classroom teachers to provide the best possible instruction for the children of our very special trilingual multicultural community. I'll let you know a secret. When positions are cut, the work doesn't go away. It gets shifted into classroom teachers. Teachers are now forced to coach each other without special training. Without language proficiency coordinators, if teachers feel a student ESOL placement is off, they spend hours researching the background, previous schooling, previous assessment, emailing admin, district staff, families in order to find a remedy, or they don't, and kids are just out of luck. Now I hear that elementary reading specialist positions are on the chopping block. Access to a small group reading instruction has helped so many of my emerging bilingual students throughout the years to become proficient in reading and writing that I couldn't believe it when colleagues informed me of these latest cuts. Worse yet, cuts in unfilled positions at Heritage Elementary will leave Russian-speaking students without small group reading or special ed support in Russian. As a tireless supporter of these students and this program, how could I not come here tonight and say, shame on you. Shame on you for being the leaders of educational institutions and not analyzing the possible impacts before making such cuts. Shame on you for not caring about equity in access to reading. Shame on you for not caring about our teachers and endlessly piling more and more work, specialized remedial work that should be done by well-trained colleagues with special endorsement and years of clinical experience. Now you think you can put it on the shoulders of the classroom teachers who does not have the time and special training to do it. And finally, shame on you for not caring about bilingual students who deserve so much better than you willing or able to provide for them. Every child has the right to learn how to read. I'm tired of coming before this board every year to fight for the basic instructional resources that our students need. And I'm beginning to think maybe it's you, inept leaders, that we should be cutting.
Tony Song.
Good evening. This district can be extremely proud of its educators and joins all of you in celebrating the accomplishments of our colleagues at Nellie Moore Elementary School, as well as all of the schools in our district. Through all of its ups and downs, through frequent changes in district and school board leadership, Woodburn teachers have held down the fort, holding true to its innovative vision, namely, to engage, inspire, and prepare each student to learn, lead, and contribute towards an equitable community, both local and global. I'd like to focus tonight on one phrase, towards an equitable community, which is a goal and a value that must come from the top, not just in words, but in actions. It's one thing to publicly proclaim that we want everything to be equitable, but it's another thing entirely to, quite literally, put our money where our mouths are. Woodburn residents, wherever they come from, whatever languages they may speak, and whatever their cultural beliefs, are Woodburn taxpayers and are thus the true owners of our schools. Yet in this community, there is little awareness not only of how to participate in decision-making, but of what a school board actually is, what role it plays in our children's education, and most importantly, how they can make their voices heard. An equitable community requires meeting people where they live, speaking their language, and dispensing with the convenient notion that Sending out an electronic survey will result in a true or accurate measure of community opinion. An equitable community requires that non-English speakers are included, not just as token names on toothless committees, but as stakeholders with an actual voice in decision-making. An equitable community requires translations to be offered, not as a grudging afterthought, but in an immersive way that empowers those who do not speak English with the same influential voice as those who do. An equitable community requires a budget that's transparently presented and includes educators, staff members, and community members in crafting its priorities. As we strive to recover from post-pandemic learning loss, and as every teacher does their utmost to teach under difficult circumstances, a disconnect remains between administrators and the reality on the ground. Systems that look wonderful on paper and were designed before COVID are falling apart due to understaffing. Top-down decision-making by people who do not, as a rule, experience what some classroom educators have described as a battle zone just isn't going to cut it. That's why we're gathered here today. Staff members, community members, educators, and students are here in unity to demand a meaningful voice in where we go from here. As we celebrate the professionalism of our educators, it's worth reminding you from whom your power is derived, the people of this wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Cufton.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Cupton, and I'm presenting a majority position from elementary educators. It was in the lobby, and we chose not to disturb the beginning of this meeting by bringing it in, but we will leave it for you. The long and short of these numbers that you see here in the report are also have been shared, are showing that we're not supporting our students to the degree necessary. Despite additional new state funding sources, elementary small group reading intervention specialists have been steadily eliminated. The conversations around staffing for next year seem to indicate that the plan is for each elementary to have only one reading intervention specialist, not two. This will leave approximately 140 Russian-speaking students without extra support in Russian for reading or in self-contained SPED classes either, which is a clear inequity. Here's another interesting fact. There's a full-time reading specialist at St. Luke's, a private school, which is funded by Woodburn School District through a Title II-A grant, specifically for the purpose of small group work. So you'll see in the chart kind of a comparison of student to reading specialist ratios in the years that we have data for, and you'll see a steady decline from 1 to 345 in 2022-23 to 1 in 415 this year. And then the proposed cut would be a ratio of 1 to 570. This is on average in all of the school districts. Our proposed remedy, our demand is that we return and restore 2 reading specialists in each elementary school. The second part of the petition has to do with the dire need for behavior specialists. So the chart that's showing here shows that currently we have 1 behavior specialist for 1,142 students. And that's, as far as we know, is what is also projected for next year. We believe that this is not adequate. There is so much disrupted learning that we believe the remedy is to have a full-time behavior specialist in each elementary school so that the ratio would be 1 to 570 students. Finally, we're advocating for more counselors at all levels in the schools. And reminding you that the American School Counselor Association recommends a ratio of 1 to 250. And we're not there, not at elementary and not at middle school. So with the many factors that we have in Woodburn that speak to the necessity of increasing the number of counselors in middle high school levels in order to implement small group interventions as a part of our violence and gang prevention measures. So we know that we can do better and we must do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Marquez Gutierrez.
Members of the Woodburn School Board, my name is Liz Marquez Gutierrez, and I'm the Policy Manager at PECUN, Oregon's Farm Worker Union. At PECUN, we work to empower farm workers and working Latinx families to improve their working conditions through community building, organizing, and policy advocacy. And I'm here representing the voice of farm worker parents with children in the Woodburn School District. These investments significantly impact the quality of education our students, students of color, and students who have been historically underserved receive. Our members have advocated at the state legislature for investments in education, especially for students who have been historically marginalized, because we have seen the results that focused investments can make in the lives of students. We can ensure our students succeed in the classroom by hiring more teachers and providing academic and mental health resources to support students who are struggling. Preserving the dual language program is also important for our members who want to ensure their children can learn to speak, write, and read in 2 languages and be prepared for the future while not forgetting their roots. Students have more urgent needs than ever before, but the district's administrative positions have grown 6 times as much as their teaching positions. We ask that you prioritize investing in counseling staff, teachers, and programs that support our students. When there are limited budgets, we should cut administrative budgets first, and we must prioritize and invest in the resources and support our students need to ensure that they have a better future, as these investments impact our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Marta López.
Miembros de la mesa directiva, mi nombre es Marta López, soy madre de 2 estudiantes en el Distrito Escolar de Woodburn. Estoy aquí porque creo que nuestra prioridad en las escuelas debe ser nuestros estudiantes. En mis casi 15 años de experiencia como madre de estudiantes dentro de este distrito, debo decir que estoy agradecida por la labor que cada maestro y todos en general hacen por nuestros hijos. Sin embargo, también creo que hay muchísimas cosas en las que debemos mejorar. Soy madre de un estudiante que está diagnosticada con déficit de atención. Esto hace que mi forma de ver la manera en la que nuestros hijos están siendo tratados dentro de las escuelas sea un poco diferente. Como madre de esta niña, yo no entendía las necesidades que ella tenía. Muchas veces recibió castigos injustos por parte de algunos maestros, incluso míos. Y la ignorancia, y esto a causa de la ignorancia en la que yo vivía acerca de este tema. Mi hija fue catalogada desde muy pronto como mala estudiante. Aún así, las cosas no iban más o menos bien hasta que llegó a la preparatoria. En este tiempo fue cuando me di cuenta lo mal que están las escuelas en nuestro distrito. Mi hija se saltaba las clases y aunque yo recibía mensajes de alerta, no podía más que decirle a ella, hablar con ella de que no hiciera esto. Sus calificaciones empeoraban cada día hasta que llegó el punto en el que me vi en la necesidad de pararme en la escuela porque otra vez había faltado a clases. La sorpresa fue que ni siquiera la directora sabía dónde estaba mi hija. No la encontraba por ningún lado, ni siquiera en las cámaras. Esa fue la primera vez que mi hija fue expulsada. Sé por boca de ella, ahora, que se encerraban en el baño a fumar marihuana, que muy pocas personas del staff les importaba lo que los estudiantes hacían, que pueden estar con teléfonos dentro de los salones de clases y no se les dice nada. ¿Dónde está aquí el valor que se le da a la educación y a la disciplina? Unos meses después, me vi en la necesidad de sacarla de la escuela preparatoria de Woodburn, porque como madre sentí que si no lo hacía, ella iba a terminar en drogas, embarazos o con problemas con el policía. Como mi hija, hay muchos estudiantes que son diagnosticados con ese tipo de problemas y otros que no son diagnosticados, pero enfrentan diferentes tipos de problemas en su día a día. ¿Qué está haciendo el distrito para que no haya deserción escolar? ¿Qué hacen para garantizar la estabilidad de nuestros hijos? Pido que ningún otro padre se vea en la necesidad de sacar a sus hijos de la escuela por considerar las escuelas lugares inseguros. Eso fue lo que yo pienso, es lo que yo pienso de la high school. Pienso que una buena manera de mantener a nuestros hijos seguros es contratar más consejeros y profesionales de salud mental para ayudar a los estudiantes que tienen dificultades. Cuando hay presupuestos limitados, la prioridad deben ser nuestros estudiantes. El sistema educativo no debe ser un lugar para venir a enriquecer bolsillos, sino para enriquecer las mentes, esas mentes de niños de 5 años que dejamos en sus manos por 6 horas diarias durante 12 años y nos los entregan hechos jóvenes. La educación compartida entre maestros y padres es el mejor regalo que les podemos ofrecer. Esas mentes geniales, inviertan en ellas, por favor. Mi hija es genial, está en una escuela donde la valoran. Solo necesitaba un apoyo más.
Gracias. Thank you, everyone who participated in public comment this evening. And so moving on is reports. The first item is board reports, and this is an opportunity for board members to share their participation and how they're moving the district forward. Anybody like to go?
So I attended a couple of sessions that the city of Woodburn presented at the high school. One of them was about suicide awareness and resources. And the other one was also about how the City of Woodburn Police Department and Judicial Department are trying to engage the students so that way they can navigate them from out of crisis and into improvement in their future. Juan Larios was there also.
I have nothing, I have nothing to report at this time. I was out on vacation for a couple weeks, but I am looking forward to Dia del Niño this weekend.
That's coming up. I attended the career fair that was hosted by the high school. And it's always neat to see community organizations and just to see 2 gyms fully packed. And, you know, for our families and students to have access to information and just either higher education or careers in general. And I also attended one of the community events, but this one was, I think the topic was gang violence. And so it was very informational, and it was neat to see presenters who were former graduates of our high school. And so it was neat to see them present to our families. And so I look forward to attending more of those events in the community. All right, so moving on along, we have operations reports from the business office, an audit report presented by Director Sarah Bishop. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, board. You have your usual monthly report in front of you. You'll notice I made a few notations on this month's report, and that's to be expected at this time of year. One of the great things about our budget is when we budget in very large numbers at our appropriation level. So that means we're able to be flexible throughout the year to meet needs where they occur, because we're going through right now with the budget in May of 2024, and that has to carry us through May of 2025 of next year. So we need the ability to be flexible. So when you notice those numbers, especially in the 2000 functions, you'll see the ones with the 3s notated on them. Obviously, individually, some of those are over budget, but as a whole, they're under budget. And again, we budget that way in order to be flexible, to be able to spend where we need to spend from. And for example, number 4 is over budget, but as it's noted, we're going to be spending less out of another function in order to cover that. So that's kind of the internal tracking we do throughout the year to make sure we don't go over budget as a whole, but also to meet the needs where they are.
And so if I heard you right, we're just moving monies from other areas to
Correct.
current needs.
Yep.
So if it's one on the side, even though it's over
It's just moving monies elsewhere. So for example, if ground services is over budget, but building services are under budget, they're able to utilize the monies as a whole where it needs to be. But also still charging to the appropriate function, because that's good for tracking purposes, of course.
And so, for example, under speech pathology, 2150, where it says spent 100%, does that mean there are no more funds?
In that particular function, yes. That's also a unique one in that that is a SPED function. So SPED, it's my philosophy that we have to meet our maintenance of effort and excess costs first, which is federal thresholds we have to meet before we can move funds to IDEA for the year, which is our Individuals with Disability Education Act funds and the special revenue account. So at this point in the year where we start meeting these thresholds, we're able to shift expenditures over to that grant fund as well. Go ahead.
Student safety, like 119%.
Mhm.
Break that one down.
Sure. So in that one of the middle schools elected to move one of their educational assistant open positions instead of filling that into a campus monitor position. They felt that's where the need was. So the funds were reallocated to that function.
And so as we continue in finishing this school year, when we get to spending the funds, will we be at like, we've overspent, we've met within, we stayed within our budget?
So currently we're well within our budget. Again, I encourage you to look at the bottom line. So the total of instruction, the total of support services, because that's where our budget authority lies, is in those larger functions. We will not go over budget in the general fund. That's why we also have contingency. So if something huge did arise, we'd be able to move funds out of there. So again, look at that bottom line. But again, we give you the detail because it's important for you guys to see all of that in there.
So I know this isn't in this budget, but you know how government Cotex says that she's going to provide more funding for the high schools? That's just promise. That's not even anywhere that's been allocated yet.
No.
Yeah.
And is that something that would be decided by June?
If we received additional funding from the state, I have no clue.
Okay.
If we were allocated additional money from the state, we'd come to the board with a new budget resolution to be able to expend those funds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is confirmation items, and they're presented as follows. Meeting minutes, March 12th, 2024, regular board meeting, personnel, acceptance of gift donations, surplus property disposal report. Do we have any questions? We do not. I would entertain a motion.
I don't have any questions.
Would someone like to make a motion to adopt the confirmation items as presented?
Overall.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the confirmation items as presented.
There a second?
I second that.
All in favor of adopting the confirmation items as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries with a 3-0 vote. And moving on to board action items, we have no old business this evening. The new business that we do have is item 1, which is board vacancy interviews. So at this time, we will interview for the board member position 3. We have 2 applicants. We will interview all 2 applicants and ask them the same set of questions. Are our applicants here? Yeah. So I know what we did with our budget committee is, I think we invited them individually, ask questions, and then have the other applicants step outside.
Yeah.
Is that something we'd like to do or other thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. So who's, what we will do is we will have one interviewee at a time, and the others of you who are interviewing will step outside and just wait until that interview is completed. So our first applicant is Kara Romero.
Good evening.
Welcome. Just give us a second. Okay, so we have a set of questions here to ask. You have them before you. We will take turns in asking the questions, and we will go ahead and get started. Why are you interested in serving on the school board? Do you have personal connections to any current students in Woodburn School District?
Yes, I have 2 students. One will be in Woodburn School District next year in middle school, and then I do have a freshman at the high school currently. I'm interested in serving on the school board just because I obviously invested as a parent, but also as a community member. Woodburn, we moved here from Portland in 2017 specifically because we heard such great things about the school district. And we're invested here, rooted here, really happy to be here. You know, I know there's a lot of challenges for Woodburn as a city, and then obviously as a community, and our school district is no exception to that. And so, you know, if there's things that need to be done, then I'm a helper. I like to help. I also, yeah, that's the next question. So let's start right there.
Thank you. Would you like to ask the second question?
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with public schools in Woodburn or elsewhere?
Sure. My most direct experience is as a substitute teacher. So licensed, I am still a licensed restricted sub. I worked in Woodburn schools subbing before the pandemic, my first couple of years as a sub, and then after the pandemic, I've been almost exclusively at Jervis District. I also am a registered nurse, and that was something that I completed last year. I went to nursing school through the pandemic and became a nurse last year. And my aim is to maybe one day be a school nurse after I've gotten lots of good experience. But I also used to be, my first career was as a community advocate, social worker. I worked with survivors of sexual and domestic violence and their children. And in that work, assisted my clients through any difficulty they had placing their students with behavior, with advocating for them as a special needs family with school members, accompanying them, and also providing support groups to children, both in that role and then later as an employee of Washington County in their, it's like the course that parents have to take when they're asking for custody changes, divorce, etc. So, you know, lots of experience with kids, especially kids. And my work as a social worker was exclusively with the Latino community. So lots of experience with kids that are primarily either ill, at risk, having difficulties at home, homeless, immigrant families, et cetera. And so kind of a collateral amount of experience with public schools.
Thank you. What do you see as the most critical trend for the future facing public education and the Woodburn School District today?
The most critical trends. I mean, funding, as we've heard from our public comments today, is always an issue, but has become a bigger and bigger and bigger issue over, the last 30 years. I can think about how my experience of elementary and middle and high school, and what that was like and the resources that were available to me. I went to 3 different districts throughout my public education, and just comparing those resources to what we're needing to work with now. And as a person paying attention to national news, we're always hearing about cuts to the Department of Education, and all of that trickles down. It's what we're seeing with the lack of funding for essential services. And so the funding that we do have, we need to be using wisely in order to most benefit our children, most equip our educators with what they need in order, to educate children. I want them to have as good or better of an experience as I did in public schools back in the 80s and 90s. Obviously, for Woodburn as a specific community, we are a really interesting, diverse, beautiful community. We have so many different small communities within this city. And that was another thing that drew us here to Woodburn, is that we wanted to live in a place where, unlike our neighborhood in Portland, where, it was much more homogeneous. And I think it's a delicate and really important task that we have as a board, as a district, as a community, is to work really hard together, to listen to each other, to support each other, and to make that unique situation the beautiful thing that it is, and continue to support that. And so I really value our bilingual programs. I value the options that students have, as if they're recent immigrants, like the ways that we support them that are way different and much better than a lot of other districts in the state or in other states. So I think continuing to maintain what others have built here and to continue to make it better as a collaborative effort between administration, teachers, students, community members, parents, is critical. And it feels a little bit like there's some rough edges to smooth out in that area. And that's one of my personal skills, is to try to be a very good listener, to be empathetic, to understand people's points of view, and to mediate, find the middle ground.
Thank you. What are the most valuable contributions Woodburn School District make to the community, and why? What are some areas where you believe Woodburn School District can improve?
I think I've answered that one somewhat with the comments that I've already made, but I mean, the district's contributions to the community are in providing a really unique and valuable educational experience. We also offer those programs for parents, like their education nights, support for parents who may have low levels of literacy or need skills in various areas, also language, in supporting students who come to us as monolingual non-English speakers. those are all really valuable and important things that this district has contributed to the community. I see district members out and about. It's a small town. You know, most of us, most of all of us as educators and other, folks, we all live here and are involved. And I see them see y'all at school events. There's investment and presence. And I appreciate that about the district. Areas for improvement. I think that listening to our community members and knowing where they are seeing the deficits is probably the most important thing that we do as a board. Having long and good conversations with our educators to know where they're lacking in support, where they're lacking in funding, where they're struggling. It's our job to facilitate, their jobs as the experts in education. I'm not a trained teacher. I was a restricted sub as a person who holds a bachelor's degree and who can follow simple instructions left by teachers. But being in classrooms, one as a sub has its own challenges because it's, when the cat's away, the mice will play. But you see, firsthand as a substitute how difficult teachers' jobs are, and how some students struggle and how some students need support with behavioral issues, and how some students, we integrate, students of varying levels into the same class. And so the difficulty in trying to support students that have different learning needs and levels in a class of, 30 plus kids is daunting. And so I think that our continual strive as a district needs to be the goal of kids going through our public school education, having an amazing experience, being supported. They can't do that if teachers and school staff don't have what they need in order to provide that for students. We all have the same goal. So just working on figuring out, like, how do we achieve that goal and balance, those areas that there's deficit, there's need, there's something lacking. How do we as an administration, work to balance those things with the limitations that we have, with the money that we have to work with, et cetera. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anything you would like to ask the board or anything else you would like to add?
Sure. I'd love to know kind of what you think makes a great board member, and what has been maybe like kind of the most challenging aspect of being a board member. Yeah. I understand it's hard to answer questions on the spot.
Well, for one, being a newer board member, almost a year already, I think the thing getting used to is the work is a big process, and to see people and to hear people say you guys ain't doing nothing, and to have that thrown on you is very disheartening sometimes, because you're putting your heart and soul into it. And for people to be like, oh, this, what changes have you made? And you want to be like, just give us a chance. Also just, the challenges is learning a lot. It is a volunteer position, but you're here for a reason. And, like when I ran, it's about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still about the kids. It'll always be about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So as you see, there's deficiencies. You stated it. There is things that got to be done and changes need to be made. So that to me is a challenge. It's a learning process in regards to facing those realities
Mm-hmm.
of people and ideas and whatnot. And, but other than that, you know, it is very satisfying on the other side of that, the spectrum. It's satisfying knowing that you do have, and I hate using the word the power because it's not a power trip for me personally. It's not it's, but I'll use it loosely to have the power to implement the change to hopefully get to where we want to go as a district. You know, I speak to a lot of parents and it feels good to know that they're relying on you to hopefully work together to get to where we want to go, despite the noise, despite the doubts, despite the questions, and despite opinions, and despite everything. If you just stay focused, you know, as a collaboration and get to the goal.
Thank you.
I can go next. I've been here for about 6 years. And I think one of the challenging tasks here is, well, there's a lot. But, you know, one thing that I appreciate in being a board member is I think that's really important is keeping our students at the center. Because when you can do that, and you're focused in keeping students at the center, then it doesn't matter what side you're on because you're looking at data and you're making data-driven decisions. And so it doesn't allow space for opinion. It doesn't allow space for personal opinions or outside opinions because when you can look at the numbers, when you can look at data, it's pretty clear. I think as a board and as a board member, our primary role is policy and adopting a budget. And so people think that we are here to make decisions. We make decisions on policy and budget. Outside of that, you know, those are operational responsibilities that are given to our superintendent. So sometimes people think that they can just call and we can just move and make decisions, but that is not our role.
Thank you. Well, I'm also new and I ran for the students, even though my the residents have been here for many years, graduate from high school, from the Woodburn High, moved out of district and was in a amazing district that was one of the #1s in the state of Washington, and then came back because our community is here. We want our children to grow up in the community that we grew up in, and to see how it has depreciated. And again, we're here for the students, and yes, we're here for policy improvement, and we can't change things in Sneppen. I think we're here as guidance and as overseers, and we can't just think, well, somebody calls and our demands or emails us about something that's happening within a school. That's individually at the site, not something that we can change with the snap of a finger of a phone call. So as Naomi said, we are here as facilitators, but as overseers. And as our first year, with the many changes that have taken place, and all the changes and comments, we're here to stay. And so, again, it's for the students. It's for their future, no matter what many people think, because we want our children to grow stronger and better and become greater leaders than what we are.
Thanks. So that concludes all of our questions. Thank you.
Could I tap out the other one,
please? Oh. Sorry, I don't need this. Okay, so our next applicant is Courtney Elwell. Okay. So we have here 5 questions to ask, which you have before you. But at first, I want to say thank you for applying. I know sometimes we don't always get a lot of applicants, and so it's just great to see people put in that investment to consider public service, and because it's volunteering. And so here we have 5 questions, and we'll go ahead and start with the first one. Why are you interested in serving on the school board? Do you have personal connections to any current students in Woodburn School District?
Okay. I am interested in serving on the school board because I believe that I can make a difference. I think that everybody has a time when they can get involved, and I think that it's important to volunteer. I have been volunteering for 2 years at least at Woodburn High School, almost every single day. And I've been doing supervision, chaperoning, dances, field trips, anywhere where there's a need, but mostly supervision every single day since I learned that there were pretty big fights at the school about like 2 years ago. And so I became involved then, and I feel like when that time came, I started coming to school board meetings, and I have made a very conscious effort to either be here present physically here in the seats or on Zoom. And so I've learned a lot about the process. I have been I've watched a whole year of school board meetings to see exactly how the cycle works, how the calendaring works, how the budget works, when the budget deadlines are, about how each school does a presentation, about how we recognize the staff and when that is on the calendar, how we make proclamations and we recognize different things, how we work with the community and partner with them, and how we recognize the school board, how we recognize the superintendent, all the different things. The school board doesn't just have a meeting. They really do things in the community. They do things with the different schools. They do things with the staff. They do things with the budget. They do things with the Oregon Department of Education. They do things with Willamette ESD. There is so much more than just 2 Tuesday nights a month that people probably don't know about. And so I have been coming, and on the days that I couldn't come, I've watched on Zoom or tried to log in. Sometimes I had trouble with that. So I have been engaging for about 2 years straight, learning all about it and becoming familiar with it. And that is kind of where my heart is at now. I didn't realize that any of the members were going to resign early, of course. And so in the back of my mind, I thought that maybe when my kids were done graduating, it would be my time. And so that brings me to the second part of question 1, my connections. I have 2 students left in the Woodburn School District. I have a senior who is graduating this year, and then I have a sophomore. So those are my connections now to the Woodburn School District. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with public schools in Woodburn or elsewhere?
Well, my experience, I'll just tell you about Woodburn because all of my kids have gone here. All of my kids have been born and have only gone to Woodburn, and I also, I took in my sister when she was young, so she graduated in 2005 here. So I had a 2005 graduate, a 2014 graduate, and now I will have a 2024 graduate, and then my daughter will graduate in 2026. So I have had experience all the way from 2005 to right now, currently. I have seen lots and lots of changes in that time since 2005 until now. I have worked strongly with the IEP program. I have had one student who has been on an IEP since it's not called an IEP when you go to like preschool. So I forgot what it's called, but they were on an IEP when they entered into kindergarten, into first, and until they were done with school. So so I've worked a lot with special needs and everything that comes with that, and I have a lot of experience with special needs, and then learning a lot about how other districts work. I've been on committees that worked with Salem Kaiser and as well with Silverton. So I have seen the 4 schools that we had at Woodburn High School. 2005 was the last year when my sister graduated that it was 1, and then it split apart to 4. And then when my youngest started high school, it became 1 again. So I've seen it go from 1 into 4, and all of those years in between, and then back into 1. And I can tell you that in the last 2 years of working a volunteer every single day, I have seen lots of really good things in the Woodburn Public Schools. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but working on the inside versus being on the outside and in the community, I would say I have a lot of experience with boots on the ground and being right on the inside of how things work. I don't know how to say it any different, and people will say that I'm Mary Poppins, but I love it. I really love working with people. I love the students that we have here. I believe in the students. I believe in the staff. I believe that there are really good things here in Woodburn. I hear continually people saying, oh, we want to put Woodburn on the map. We need to put Woodburn on the map, and it's happening. It really is happening. I mean, when I'm hearing this principal from Nellie Muir talk about their attendance rate and the changes, I mean, there's proof right there. It's happening. Good things are happening. Good reports are happening. Good experiences are happening. Things just keep changing and getting better. And that is my experience. You know, we might have a few drawbacks every once in a while, but in comparison across the map with other schools, with other things that are happening, you know, with, you know, Salem Kaiser, Portland, I mean, we're right in between 2 very different places. My experience is really good. And I think that that my experience has been positive, and that's why I keep going back. I mean, that's why I keep volunteering, is because my experience has been positive. If it was bad, I wouldn't keep going. So it's been good.
What do you see as the most critical trends for the future facing public education and the Woodburn School District today?
Critical trends. Well, I think that everyone is facing a lot of the same things that people are concerned about. You know, budget. I think that, you know, we've got huge issues with money everywhere. You know, we're hearing Salem is having problems with money, layoffs. Silverton is in crisis. Crime is coming down around us. I would say budgets. People are worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about, the trends are that people are going to lose their jobs. The trends are that people are going to not be able to maintain the things that they fought so hard for. And that's a very serious concern. I would say it's jobs, budget, things getting scaled back. But I would hope that we would be able to continue to keep what we've fought so hard for. I mean, I'm just looking at things positively, and I think that was one of the questions on the application. It was about the same kind of thing, what is the most major barrier, one of the hardest things that's in front of us? And, I said balancing the budget, dealing with what, the things that people are most concerned about. Cuts, we don't want any cuts. People are concerned about cuts. We want to stay and continue to educate our kids to be able to accommodate the growth here. So I would say, it's balancing the budget, keeping what we have, and keeping kids safe. It's about the students. Well, I think the most valuable contributions Woodburn School District makes to the community and why is Woodburn School District needs to produce students that are ready to go out into the world, graduates that are ready to go out to face the world. So I think that is one of the most valuable contributions. Are they ready when they graduate to either enter the workforce, go to college, to be ready for life after high school, no matter what their choice is? And I think why is because that's what we prepare them for after high school. That's what you do after high school, because when you're done with high school, you graduate and you move on to the next thing, no matter what that choice is. I also think that Woodburn School District needs to be accountable to their community, because they need to be, they need to let their yes be yes and their no be no. So, that when the school district says this is our data, this is what we found, that they need to be, about what they say they are. So if they say, we have this many kids that have reached this level, here they are, we're giving them diplomas. We need to be a district that says, and this is what they've done with that. I've asked often, what's the measurement of success? Where's the data that says what they did after they graduated? And I've never been told any kind of report or data. What did the kids do after they graduated from here? And We don't know. And so I think that that's an important contribution to this community, is that if we are educating students, it's important to give back to the community because we expect it to go both ways. So I think that that's important. Some areas where I believe that Woodburn School District can improve, I think that there needs to constantly be more bridging the gap between, I don't know how this has happened, but there's a constant us versus them, the school district versus parents, the school versus staff, parents versus teachers. And I would love to see that completely go away, where there's just this triangle that is constant, and it is the school board and the school and the teachers are one entity, and the students are another, and the parents are another. And so we are all one, and we cannot function without each other. And so we are constantly, you know, like a stool with three legs that we cannot stand without the three legs. So it will fall if we don't have those three legs. And so if you don't have the parents, and you don't have the student, and you don't have the school, and the school is not the school unless we have the school district. And so you have to have the school, and you have to have the school district, and you have to have the teachers. They're one. So it's not the staff versus the board, and it's not the staff versus, you know, any part of it, because we are one. The DO and the teachers and the staff, we're all one. And so I think that that would be the area where I really think things could improve, because if that was more solid, I think that the community outside would start to see that. And I think that they would pick up on that, and that would build a stronger bridge everywhere around Woodburn, and that would put Woodburn on the map.
Is there anything you would like to ask the board, or anything else you would like to add?
I would just like to add that I've been an advocate for probably 10 years. I worked for housing for about 11 years, and during that time I worked in mediation a lot with my clients, and I worked with homeless people who were very, very low income. That's what brought me to Woodburn. I've lived here for over 25 years, and so I feel like I am constantly a helper. I'm constantly trying to find a way to serve people. And so I feel like that is part of having a kind of a volunteer's heart. And I feel like that has a lot to do with why I want to serve on the board, is because I want to serve our community. And I feel like that is a way that I can do it, is by serving and working for our community in this capacity. And I think that I can faithfully do it. And I think I would do a good job at it. You guys have any questions for me?
I think we've asked you. Thank you.
No? You? You look like you do. No? Yeah, I went over the strategic plan again, before I filled out the application, and I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it because I attend the meetings and kind of double check to make sure that, you know, everything, you know, constantly aligns, and I do think so. I mean, and I think that the board is constantly focused on the strategic plan. So I do feel like I'm in agreement with it. No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do I go out in the hall? Oh.
So our next step is to vote. And so we are voting for one candidate. So do we give that name to you? How do we want?
Yeah, you can, so you're following policy BBEAR, vacancies on the board. And since you only have two candidates, you will just select one person and it'll just be by majority vote. Because the three of you make a quorum, you have to come to an agreement on one person and then make the motion and then take the vote. But I would suggest that you have a discussion prior to that.
Prior to voting.
Prior to voting, yeah.
So we heard from our two applicants, answered the same questions. Any questions or discussion around our interview?
I was trying to pull up the policy. I thought I saw it in the packet.
I can start. I think when it comes to serving on the board and people applying for this position, I think there's a desire to serve, to make that commitment to serve our students. And so I think anyone who applies has a heart for that. But now we've got to choose, right? And in my thinking is what is in the best interest of our students is really my question.
Yes, it's a voluntary position, and it's very time consuming, and we have to be unbiased and without an agenda. And our main focus needs to be on the students and all the progress that the schools have done. And yes, there is still lots of room for improvement. But we also have to see that what improvement has done over the year as the changes have taken place. And yeah, this is just a yearly term, right?
This is actually through June of 2025. So they have to finish out the term and that's when it ends, June of 2025.
Sorry, my mistake.
can run and, if they would like.
To further extend their position.
Yeah, so just kind of give you some background as far as that. So the resignation into this position missed the cutoff of when it would go on a ballot from this May. And so because it missed that cutoff, the board has to appoint someone through the end of the term. If it would have been prior to an election, like filing, then this position, you would appoint someone through June. And then in May, whoever ran then would start July 1st through 2025. So they would only serve 1 year. But because it missed that deadline, that's why you're appointing through June of 2025.
Are we ready to vote? Any other questions or discussion?
So what I would recommend, since you only have 2 candidates, is one person can make a motion. You can do it 2 ways. You can each go down and give your vote. And then if it's the same person, then somebody can just make a motion to appoint that person to the position. And then someone can second, and then you can take a vote. Or you can just make a motion and state someone. You can kind of do it both ways.
Do we have options?
I move to make a motion to for
So it would be a motion to appoint
sorry,
position
for the
3.
verbiage. For position number 3, Courtney, since seems like she's been involved, has experience of volunteering, and
You can just make the motion. That's okay.
And just to give the context, I kind of go with that, just because the fact of our goal, the face has changed and the engagement, the community is a huge thing for us of being out in the community, more visible and whatnot. And in my time, even before the board, I've observed Ms. Elwell everywhere. And it's, I've heard things in the availability. And so with that being said, I do appreciate Ms. Romero's experience but in this case, I think the availability and the engagement part of it would be a huge asset in this regard. So I second the motion.
All in favor of appointing Courtney Elwell for position 3 from June 2024 to June 2025? Just say Jale. Oh, that's right. Sorry about that. Tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. So when it would start the next board meeting? Okay. So all in favor of appointing Ms. Elwell for position 3, say aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries with a 3-0 vote. Okay. Next item on the agenda, we have Teacher Appreciation Week resolution number 24-001. That is in page 22. Superintendent Larios, can you please present to us the Teacher Appreciation Week resolution?
It'd be my pleasure too. Coming up the week of May 6th through the 10th is Teacher Appreciation Week. So we have this resolution. It's a little early, but this is the board meeting before I have an opportunity to do that. So we want to bring this forward now. So I'll just read it into the record here. Whereas teachers hold future citizens, whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encourage students of widely different reading backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas teachers prepare our students to graduate ready to pursue college, career options, and success in life, and whereas teachers foster positive and supportive relationships to facilitate student growth and provide meaningful and equitable opportunities for learning for all students, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community, now therefore be it resolved that the Woodburn School District Board of Directors proclaims May 6th to the 10th, 2024 to be Teacher Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Woodburn School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for the dedication and devotion to their work.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as read into the record?
Motion to adopt the resolution as read into the record.
I second that.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor of adopting the Teacher Appreciation Week Resolution number 24-001 as presented, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries a 3-0 vote. Thank you. Next, we have dress code policy survey. Policy JFCA, student dress code and grooming. Superintendent Larios will present the survey data.
So prior to spring break, the board engaged in a conversation around our current dress code policy and the process for gathering feedback from our constituents, from our families, from our parents, from our students, around how they're feeling about the current dress code and the concerns they might have, and gathering some feedback. So for the few weeks after spring break and during conferences, the survey was opened up and it went out multiple times in different ways, social media, through text messages and Remind, to gather feedback from our constituents. And so tonight we're bringing forward what those results are, and we walking through each of those slides and have an opportunity to discuss the next steps moving forward. We had a total of 1,756 responses. There's the breakdown from our parents, our staff, and our students. So 354 parents responded, 153 staff, and 1,249 students. The staff and student responses are pretty near to each other in terms of percentages of the staff and students who responded at the different levels, so elementary, middle, and high, were pretty reflective of one another. It's a little askew to our population. We have about 25% of our students and staff at the middle level, so we had a little higher proportion of staff and students from middle level who responded to the survey.
So what's the other?
That's how, so for the staff, it might be somebody who's at the district office, somebody who's not at middle, elementary, or high, or somebody who might serve multiple levels and identify themselves as being in other category. These next few slides, when you put all the results together, all 1,756 responses together, the first question that was asked is, how concerned are you about the dress code? And the dress code language was provided to everyone in the survey. And so when you look at the altogether responses, the 55% were not at all concerned, and 13.9 or 14% were very concerned. So there's the range of level of concern with the dress code when you look at the composite. So this is staff, students, and families all combined. And we'll have some slides in the coming forward where we start to break down the demographics, and we look at families specifically, we look at students specifically, and then we look at staff specifically. The second question that was asked was around, does the current dress code sufficiently prohibit clothes that disrupts the educational process? And this is language that was taken directly from our current dress code. And so we saw a breakdown here that 52% or 42%, I'll look at this screen, Jenny. 43% said that yes, it does prohibit, where 57% said that no, the current language does not prohibit disruptions to the educational process. This is a question that the board added around the supporting of school uniforms. Again, when we look at everyone combined, we saw 32% of our responders would support school uniforms, 68% would not. And now we'll dive into the different groups of responders. So our parents, the 354 who responded, when again asked around their level of concern, we saw about a quarter fall into each category. A quarter of them not at all concerned, 21% somewhat concerned, another 22 concerned, and then 32% very concerned. So it's kind of a fair distribution between the four. So about a quarter of the families and the parents responding to in each of those levels of concern.
So it looks like 75% or so have some level of concern.
Correct. Yeah. That question around, does the current dress code sufficiently prohibit clothing that disrupts educational process? This was pretty 50-50. 50% of the families believe that yes, the current dress code sufficiently prohibits clothes that is disruptive, and 50% felt it did not. The question around the supporting of the uniforms, so about 3/4, 72% of families said that yes, they would support school uniforms, or 29% would not support school uniforms. So about 3/4 to a quarter.
But see, if you look in the total overall, previously, teachers, parents, and students, it was more that did not support it, not just parents.
Yeah.
But overall.
Yeah, so when we get to the student responses, it was pretty overwhelmingly not supportive of the dress code. Of school uniforms.
Yes.
So these next few slides are on the staff results. Pretty similar to the parent results in terms of the distribution between the responses, ranging from the 22% not at all concerned to the 29% who are very concerned. And this was 153 staff who responded to the survey.
And again, like Naveen said, about 78% do show.
Mm-hmm. Here, this is a different result than from the families that were asked. When staff were asked about, does the current dress code sufficiently prohibit clothes that's disruptive, 33% felt that it did prohibit the clothes that was disruptive, whereas 66% felt it did not. The families responded about 50-50, and the staff was 1/3 to 2/3. Staff, when asked if they would support school uniforms, not quite 50-50, 56% said that yes, they would support school uniforms. 44% would not support school uniforms.
Know that the disruption, but they would support school uniforms. So where's the disparity there? You know what I mean? Like, where's the draw? Like, they, you know, it doesn't prohibit disruption. However, there's something there that does where they do support uniforms. That makes sense
For the families?
for the for staff.
Oh, for staff.
What does that work with the kids day to day?
Yeah, that,
I'm trying to understand that part.
and these next. Yeah. The disruption. Yes, if this current dress code policy.
This question, Santiago, is asked, if staff believe that the current dress code policy prohibits clothing that disrupt the education process.
Our students, when asked, we had 1,249 students who responded to the survey. Nearly 70% were not at all concerned with the current dress code, whereas 7% are very concerned. A little curious, this question when asked if the current policy prohibits clothing that disrupts the educational process. 57% of the students responded no, where 42% responded yes. And I wonder if maybe students understood what this question was asking.
Great, because it's similar to what the staff response was as well. Well, somewhat similar.
Yeah, it's when you look at how concerned are you, so many said well, they were not concerned. But the majority felt that it does not currently prohibit the disruption. So I have a curiosity if students understood this question. And then when would you support a school uniform? We had 83% of students who would not support a school uniform.
Well, yeah, then they can't wear what they want.
So, yeah, that's a snapshot of our school uniform, school district dress code policy survey. So now we're at a place where we can discuss like next steps, like moving forward. We've gathered this feedback from the community, and now what next? What comes before us?
Oh, I'm just glad that we did because the whole thing and whatnot. It was good to hear the community, staff, students, all inclusive, and that it's. I know that there's a lot of process, procedures, legalities just to go through and whatnot. So I know it's going to be a process, but I guess that's the discussions. You know, where do we go with this? And, you know. It's gonna be a process. Now, to understand it, because like I said, being a newer board member, my understanding was that the last time the dress code was changed was because there were students, what do you call them, board members?
I was not a board member. I'm going to clarify. I was not a board member back then. I don't think so.
There was a petition that came forward from students to change the dress code policy previously.
It was adopted in 2025. I mean, 2005. right?
No,
It was around 2015 or around there,
or 18.
right before I came. I came on, I
This
think,
is the old one. This is the old
2019.
one.
It was readopted in 2013.
The old one. The old one. The
The
previous.
old
This
one
is,
was.
this is the our current policy was adopted, I think, in 2018.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, Jenny, do you remember, was there a survey that was done for that process to implement that policy, to make the change, that policy, the one we have now? Do you recall?
Not that I can recall, not a survey.
There was a petition that came forward from high school students, and then there was a series of like workshops or sessions where high school students met to craft a proposed policy that they brought forward to the board. That's the process I recall.
And basically, it appears that that's what was accepted. I mean, in the little that I looked at it, the students came, they had to say, they sat with the board, discussed it, like you said, and that was the implemented change.
Yeah.
So at the time, that is what the board decided.
With legal recommendation too.
Yeah.
Want to clarify that too.
So here we are, we surveyed our community, our parents and staff and students. We have more voices. As a response here. Thank you, Superintendent, for putting this together and presenting it. I think
Thank you.
it's very clear. And these visuals really help in delivering the survey results. I mean, again, I think I have some questions around, like, did our students understand the question just based on results and how they align? I'm surprised by the support for school uniform. The school uniform.
But see, that's more from the parents.
Right, you're always not gonna have kids choose differently.
Yeah, they're gonna oppose it anyways. So. And same with staff. They weren't all for it, so.
And that's also gonna be another thing that I've worked through is, you know, obviously, it's good we got the students' voices, and we know how it's gonna come out, like you said. So how do we still take that into consideration? You know, granted that their percentage really changes the balance on this, and, you know, but I think that's gonna be interesting. But I think it's all gonna boil down to legalities and, you know, what going to the legal counsel and figuring out where draw the line. I mean, I don't know.
What is your recommendation for the next step?
So the policies are going to be coming forward at the next work session. If the board is interested in adding this into the policy to draft revisions to it based on the feedback that you saw. Be added to one of the upcoming work sessions. In your board packet, you'll see there's a number of policies that are coming forward for revision. It could be scheduled into one of those policy reviews.
If we readopted our previous dress code policy, does that align with current?
There are some concerns with the previous policy. When we were consulted with a legal counsel, there are some concerns around the lack of gender neutral language. So we could take a look at that as a place to start, but I would we wouldn't recommend bringing forward the previous policy.
So is this the only item that is a concern that is not in the previous dress code policy?
Which item?
So is it only the lack of gender neutral that you just mentioned, or are there other?
That was the concern.
Okay.
Gender discrimination.
That, yeah.
So it would be, let's say we wanted to re-adopt that previous dress code, it would be adding this to that, to the previous dress code policy.
Well, the previous dress code policy struck through all that language.
Okay, we have it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So what parents are asking for kind of goes against policy. I mean, like legality, things that have come up.
Yeah, the bottom of that document shows legal counsel's recommendation.
Okay. So maybe this is something that we can bring forth next time and we can discuss what that might look like.
Yeah, it could be added on there. I do recommend whatever route is taken, that again, we work closely with legal.
Right, right. So how would, if parents or advocate would be interested in school uniforms, how would that, do you know how that would impact this?
We could do some research on school uniform policies.
Yeah, because doesn't it kind of then gear into, okay, the gender discrimination, the religious discrimination, all the other avenues that need to be covered before a uniform can even be enforced.
That's not in our packet, is it?
No, this is in a separate email. But
Do you have any questions or discussion around this?
See, the most concern before the survey was done was the safety, gang clothing. That was the concern that was brought up by parents and by administrator, like principals. Because they're having that issue. That's the safety concern, that bullying because kids aren't wearing the right type of attire. But even though we already have a policy, it's not a uniform, I mean, a dress code, it's more of a safety concern. It is a dress code that's the issue, but it's more, it's more towards safety because of the fact that if somebody wears green or yellow and they're not supposed to because for some reason it's a gang color, you know. So,
well, we do have bullying and harassment policies that if a student is being, bullied for whatever reason,
Right.
clothes or anything that there are actions that need to be taken to protect that individual. And then we do have the secret society policy, the gang policy, where if a student is identified as being in a gang, there are actions that the administrator can take to restrict that student's attire or activities to maintain a safe environment.
So it really defines it to avoid discriminatory laws, especially with the gang affiliation, with the said tires and all that. So it specifically states, so because then you get into the whole discrimination factor and whatnot, that could be the opposite issue. So it does specifically say the tire.
The gang policy, they're put on plans, behavior plans, and part of that it restricts what they are allowed to wear.
If you have 200 kids dressed like that, you put all of them on that contract?
If there's a difference between how they dress and are they in a gang. And so that, we would be careful there around how a student dresses and their. Well, we can't say because you dress a particular way, you are in a gang.
Yeah, well, I think this is very clear in what was presented. And so what do you suggest as a next step?
If, we are going to add this to the packet in one of the upcoming policy review sessions, that perhaps as a chair, you and I could sit down and like put this together and bring something forward that could be reviewed by the board.
Like a draft?
Mhm.
Is the rest of the board, any thoughts around that? Rosie, any thoughts on that?
I agree that it should be reviewed between, well, among you guys. And it's pretty clear that it's divided, so it's definitely something that we should look at reviewing and seeing if it needs to be revised or not, or adjusted.
Or what space we have for modification?
Modification.
If there is no other questions or discussion, we can move along to the next item. So we have a policy update. Superintendent Larios.
Yeah, so there's just pretty lengthy. That's what makes the packet so thick tonight.
Yeah.
A number of policies that came forward with the April update. So they're in your packet tonight as a first read. They're making them public, and you all have them as they are. I would recommend that Board Chair Legaspi and I sit down and calendar when we would bring these forward to the board for review at either the May or the June work session. So tonight, no action needed, just sharing them, and then we'll get those scheduled at the upcoming work sessions.
So in other words, review the policy.
Yes.
And when you come back.
So we can review.
Be ready to review.
Yeah, either on May 14th or in June, right?
Yeah, either May 14th or June 11th. So we take half and half.
It's so many of them.
Yeah, it's a lot.
May
It would be
14th and, right?
Yes.
It's not or.
Yeah.
I
And.
would, yeah, I would recommend that we split them in half,
Oh, most certainly.
Yes.
on the 14th and the 11th.
Mhm.
Because all of that in one night is, plus everything else that we would have on the agenda.
Yeah, we won't review everything in one day. Right. Some of these are optional and others are highly required and others are highly recommended. So some of these we will go through some, but some of them are required, so.
And the dress code, I believe it should be added to the June 11th one.
We can. We
We
would sit
can.
down and we would add it to one of those.
Okay. Any questions or discussion around the policy? Anything else, Superintendent Larios, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, please read them.
Yeah. All right. Item number 7, future agenda items. We, I think, still have a running list, but is there anything else that we would like to see as a report presented to the board?
don't have anything to add.
I don't know if this is something to add, but just a question or thought around, so we've had schools make reports and they shared. And some schools have said, we'll do a follow-up or we'll let you know what that looks like at the end of the school year. So I wonder if there's like, I don't know what that would look like, but if there is something that can be available to us, like at the end of the school year or when that is, of either like a summary or an update on maybe things that they presented and saying, this is what we're working on, this is a challenge. And then at the end of the year, like this is where we are.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily like we've improved or not, but it's just, I think, good for us to see, like, this is what they've been working on. It's the end of the school year, and this is where we ended.
Yeah, we can provide that by the end of the year when this next cycle of assessment comes.
All right, and so we have here board calendar. On April 25th, which is this Thursday, we have visits to Arthur Academy and Nellie Muir. April 27th, we have Dia del Niño. May 7th, we have the budget work session and first meeting. May 14th, board work session. May 21st, budget second meeting. And so for Thursday, we are meeting where? I didn't know.
Arthur.
Okay.
That's on Gatch, right?
Yeah.
Mid-Valley?
It's behind the Mid-Valley.
Mid-Valley. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question. St. Luke's hasn't presented. They don't present, do they?
No, they're a private school. And
Yeah. Even though they get funding from us.
Yeah, they receive some title funding based on their students of poverty, but they're not Woodburn School District.
Okay. Seems like there's no more questions or discussion. It is now 8:40 and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a good night.